I have lived in the mountains from Oregon, Washington, New Mexico, Colorado, the entire New England area up to the corner of Maine. I have seen some weird stuff, some very unexplainable, bizarre things up in the mountains. And even a lot of the lumberjacks that I know who are not comfortable sharing their entire experience when it comes to Sasquatch or UFOs, they have told me some really freaky stuff. But not only that, when I lived in the South, in the cabin that I built on my ranch, that's when everything got really weird because it's not just in the mountains. I've seen strange things in the sky. When I lived in the South, in the southern skies, it's incredible. Alaska extraterrestrial races. What are their origins? Where are they from? I think I found some answers. But first, I need to tell you some things. It sounds like science fiction, but are aliens really at work within the Alaska terrain? More specifically, the Alaska Triangle. The Alaska terrain is twice the size of Texas. There have been so many sightings of UFOs, gliding fireballs before they crashed, Sasquatch and spheres of light in Alaska, and the most on record when it comes to UFO reports. Alaska's reports are the highest within the United States, with over 500 reported sightings over the course of 20 years. In the heart of the Alaska Triangle is an ominous and foreboding mountain peak, 14,000 feet high, nearly impossible to traverse to, and it's known as Mount Hayes. During my research and EVP sessions regarding extraterrestrial races and existences, I was led to the Stargate Project. The Stargate Project was about psychics who could sense the otherworldly. This all led to the CIA having psychic spies. It started in 1978. It was based in Fort Meade, Maryland. It was a collaboration between the U.S. Army and a research institute in Stanford, California, known as SRI. The Soviets were developing a project using psychics to find out anything that they could about extraterrestrials. The U.S. government did the same thing. We need to talk about the electromagnetic fields. Some areas in Alaska where the paranormal activity takes place has an extreme electromagnetic force field, which is thought by some paranormal researchers to have caused the 9.2 magnitude earthquake, which is the second biggest earthquake in the world on record. It's also thought to be causing a lot of the minor earthquakes that are taking place. And I've had EVPs of spirits and other entities, divine ethereal entities, speaking of earthquakes before they happened. There's been talk about an energy grid on the planet, like ley lines, serpentine energies, rumors of a possible vortex within the area of Alaska. Alaska is by the North Pole, and the magnetic field is thinner and weaker by the poles. Here's something that I teach and have written in my books. Ghost hunters often use electromagnetic field meters during their first years as a greenhorn exploring the path. However, there are many paranormal investigators that use the electromagnetic meter because they believe that the soul continues in existence outside of the body as electromagnetic energy. The law of conservation with energy states that energy cannot be destroyed or created. When the poltergeist creates bangs, levitates objects, moves items out of place, and manifests into a type of beastly creature, this is clearly an energy that is being created through manifestation, emotions, or from nothing at all, which is a violation of the conservation of energy. Another form of energy transfer is when light reflects off of an object and is converted into electrical impulses by our eyes before being passed along the optic nerve to your brain, which interprets them as a vision of the object. This process relies on the fact that an object can reflect light. Ghosts transmit sounds, and this requires a physical form so that when the vibrations are created, it hits the air, producing the sound waves. The EMF meter detects these electromagnetic fields. This tool is used to communicate, and the ghost can disrupt the ambient EM field to communicate with you. Ghosts and other entities trigger the EMF meter by causing a spike in fluctuation across an ambient field. In actuality, though, knowing how the otherworldly entities manipulate the EMF meter is still uncertain. Keep in mind that in most homes, the average ambient field strength is about 0.1 mGs, which would be too weak to trigger an EMF meter. The first green light of an EMF meter lights up at around 1.5 mg, and a field of 20 mg or more would light all 5 LEDs, the colored lights at the top of the device. EMF meters detect electric and magnetic fields, which oscillate at a frequency of at least 50 Hz. The magnetic field of the Earth does not oscillate at any regular pattern, so it cannot be detected by an EMF meter. It's believed that this somatic energy can live on as a disembodied consciousness after death, which the EMF meters detect. EMF meters were originally used to try to rule out the possibility that artificial EM fields could be the primary cause of people experiencing certain haunting phenomena. Strong electromagnetic fields could induce strange experiences for the individuals suffering in the alleged haunting. When the strength of the EM field is peaking, it has been studied that it can affect the temporal lobes of the brain, resulting in the naked eye seeing strange lights known as odd sensory anomalies, which have been mistaken for ghost lights. According to studies from neuroscientists, the individual will also feel a presence in the room from the magnetic effect on the brain. This tool is extremely useful for determining that there are no constant or erratic fields in or around the property. When this is detected, the living people in the building may be susceptible to these fields and should use methods other than human anatomy to investigate or diagnose a haunting. Okay, so I'm going to be sharing with you EVPs, electronic voice phenomena, in other words, spirits, ethereal beings being recorded during a seance in a silent room. Nothing or most cannot be heard with the eardrum, but my technology does record their voices in a silent room. I do this live. I live stream it so people can witness the phenomena for themselves. Specifically, I want to share within this documentary what the spirits have said in regards to Pat Price, the remote viewer for the CIA who saw all the stuff in the Alaska Triangle and all of these. He saw a lot more when it came to aliens, extraterrestrial races, stuff like that. So for me, it's very similar. It works the same way. I record what the spirits are telling me. I get a lot of it in my mind psychically. And, remote viewing has happened to me with clients globally that I've worked with, nationwide, other foreign countries. So I feel like this is important to share in regards to the research of aliens, UFOs, ufologists, things like that. I really do hope this helps a lot of paranormal investigators as well. I will be traveling to the Alaska Triangle in the year 2022 and Egypt to further my research regarding the paranormal and extraterrestrial races. So let's begin. There's a lot of stuff in here about galaxies, starlight, life. Several years ago, I was in the mountains of Colorado, and I had done a seance session and asked if extraterrestrials were real. And they said you can say that extraterrestrials exist. So this is kind of a continuation of that. And the responses have been extraordinary. So let's take a look at that EVP. You can tell me, are aliens real? So there's a lot of EVPs about a project, Alien, Galaxies, which I haven't documented or heard any spirits, during any sessions in years. The last time they talked about galaxies, they were talking about how psychics have a special light, and it's cosmic, galactic, ethereal light. And I never really understood what that meant. So the same thing happens here. They start talking about starlight, galaxies, things like different presences within Mount Hayes. So I'm really just trying to understand what it is that these entities are seeing in the Alaska Triangle and inside of Mount Hayes. And all of this is in regards to extraterrestrial existences and races. So there's one really interesting story that I need to share, and it's a researcher, ufologist in Alaska, and she, I guess, spoke to these hikers, and they were hiking out in the middle of nowhere. The terrain was thick, hundreds and hundreds of miles away from the ocean. Well, the campers, hikers saw a UFO come down, and they said, "Oh, what is that?" So they actually hiked over to where they saw it land. By the time they get there, nothing is there, and what they saw was kind of terrifying. So they see all of the brush in a swirling circular formation on the ground, and around that circular formation, which is typical, right? We've seen it in so many fields and farms and stuff, but around it were all these carcasses of all these different animals. There was bear, elk, caribou. There was a lot of animals, some that weren't even native to the land. And the most amazing one that they saw was a 15-foot killer whale. And I just couldn't believe it. I couldn't believe it. And they were all mutilated. All of them. It was just the strangest thing. So I did cut out the silence, the wait time. Basically, when I am sitting in a seance in a silent room, holding up my voice-activated and sound-activated recorders. They do not record unless they detect a voice or a very loud sound. The original footage has been archived in multiple hard drives and iClouds and things like that, but what you will see is the otherworldly voices speaking of aliens and galaxies. Thank you. I had a cough, so I had to stop that. All right, let's listen to this one. Do aliens exist? Can you confirm this again for me?
Thank you so much. And what can you tell me about the Alaska Triangle with Mount Hayes? Hi. Really astroproject and see an alien race in Mount Hayes. So what exactly did Price see when he astroprojected there? So what exactly did Price see when he astroprojected there?
Damn thing just crashed on me. Let's start this last EVP over.
We all going. Angel spirits touching me. What is it? Okay, let me start by asking, where are the aliens coming from if Earth is the last planet? you. I hope I didn't cut you off. The next question I have is, what are the aliens taking from planet Earth that they need? Thank you. And what is it that Pat Price saw? What is the project? What is it called? Okay, and how do aliens survive? Okay, thank you very much. I'm shocked.
All right.
And Okay, 1, 2, and 3 all going. Angel spirits captured me. What is it? Okay, let me start by asking, where are the aliens coming from if Earth is the last planet? Thank you. I didn't cut you off. The next question I have is, what are the aliens taking from Earth that they need? Thank you. And what is it that Pat Price saw? What is the project? What is it called? Okay, and how do aliens survive? Okay, thank you very much. I'm stopping the line.
Okay. Thank you very much. I just want to get this before my camera crashes.
Okay, and remember when you told me that the light within some bloodlines is cosmic, galactic, ethereal light. Does this have anything to do with why these aliens are coming here? Okay, remember when you told me that the light within some bloodlines is cosmic, galactic, ethereal light? Does this have anything to do with why these aliens are coming here?
Okay, I need to ask this question real quick. Starlight has come up before. It's been years, but it has come up before. What can you tell me? What is starlight, and what can you tell me about it? I need to know everything you can tell me about starlight. Thank you. Play this back. It's kind of hard to see it, so I'll hold it right here. Okay.
Can you tell me, what is starlight, and what can you tell me about it?
Here's me. So there it is. If any other researchers out there have any enlightenment or anything they would like to add to this, please feel free to reach out to me. I will leave my email. and my website. Pretty amazing stuff. I didn't even know how I was going to share this. I have hundreds of thousands of EVPs that I've never shared, and I never thought I would start with alien ones. So my interest in extraterrestrial existence and races started when I was a little girl. So one night, my father and I are leaning up against the car, his car, and we're looking up at the stars, the night sky, all of that. You know, he's pointing out little galaxies, Milky Ways, stars, and things like that. And he, was just looking up there, and I was just kind of looking at my father like, wonder what he's thinking. And so I asked him, I was like, what are you thinking, Daddy? Do you think that we're the only ones in the universe, in outer space? And he looked at me and he kind of, laughed or chuckled, and he said, if you think we're the only ones here, you're crazy. And he put his arm around me and he's like, I love you, and we were laughing and kind of started talking about aliens and stuff, because he had a lot of really weird experiences growing up in a horrible haunted house. I mean, they were choked by things they couldn't see, and couches were levitating in the air. There was a lot of crazy things that happened to them, and it really kind of traumatized them, the rest of their lives. Well, I have actually seen strange phenomena in the sky. So I built a house on one of my ranches in Texas, and it's way out there. It's like between the border of Louisiana and Austin, Texas. Really rural. One night I was on the front porch of the photo that you see. I was on the phone with my mother-in-law, and we were talking for like 2.5 hours. I had chicks hatching in an incubator that night, and I remember there was a UT football game on, and my daughter and her father were inside, and I'm just rocking in my chair looking up at the sky, talking to her. It was so dark, and all of a sudden I see a fireball. I've never seen anything like it before. It was huge, and it was a fireball. I mean, it was like a big circular formation with a tail, and it was red and orange, and it was going straight across the sky. And then all of a sudden it just took a turn and it dived, and I don't know where it went. And I never forgot that, and I thought it was the craziest thing, because I had more paranormal experiences while I lived on this ranch and built my house for the course of 4 years. There were other times I would run in the house and I would grab my husband and I would bring him back out, and I'm like, do you see what I'm seeing? Because when I would look up, I was always looking up at the sky. I had so many telescopes. I had, so many like adventures just with the stars. It was great because there was no city lights. The nearest gas station was like 30 minutes away. So I'm looking up there and I see this formation. It's these 3 stars, like a triangle, and each one of them they were completely still, but they were all flashing on and off. And I was just like, stars don't do that. So I was like showing him, I was like, what do you think that is? I was like, do you think a planet is exploding? Do you think a galaxy is happening? Like, what is it? Is it an alien? Is it, UFOs? I don't know. And I'll never forget that night, because this went on for hours. And then another night I saw green lights kind of hovering and doing this. They were doing a strange, back and forth, swirly formation up in the sky, and then they just disappeared. And it's the weirdest stuff to me. It really is just fascinating. Well, I've had clients all over the world who have come to me in regards to their Sasquatch or UFO experiences, but my first client to ever go public was in 2020, and he saw something that my friend Ben Stevenson, who's a deputy and a paranormal investigator, his client saw the exact same thing, and they both recorded footage that's almost identical. And then Deputy Stevenson sent me more footage, I think it was in the Utah area, of what he saw. So I do have another documentary showing that footage and an interview of a man in California who was telling his story and what he saw multiple times. There were even helicopters flying after these UFOs, but he said the UFO just took off. It was way faster than the helicopters. He couldn't believe it. But yeah, there's some stories for you.